Hi everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Jill, otherwise known as the Enlightened Target, and this channel is devoted to narcissistic abuse awareness and recovery, parental alienation, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, and anything and everything associated with those three main topics. Today we're going to talk about the 6 stages of healing from hidden abuse, otherwise known as psychological abuse. The steps I'm going to list come from a wonderful book titled Healing from Hidden Abuse by Shannon Thomas. I find that her steps very accurately describe how I healed, and I often recommend her book to my coaching clients. At the core of narcissistic abuse is psychological abuse. What is psychological abuse exactly, you might ask? Psychological abuse is gaslighting, the silent treatment, love bombing, word salad, victim blaming or blame shifting, triangulation, projection, the smear campaign, and so many other things that all narcissists do. Those are all examples of psychological abuse, tactics, and manipulations. In its simplest definition, psychological abuse is essentially anything a person does to distort your understanding of reality or your perceptions. It's what you would call mind games. And in the book, the author tells us psychological abusive predators are people with narcissistic personality disorder and/or antisocial personality disorder. So we are referring to narcissists, sociopaths, and psychopaths, or some combination of all three. If you're new to my channel, welcome. So happy you're here. I would like to invite you to please subscribe because I put out new videos every week. Also, I am now partnering with BetterHelp. So if you would like to get in touch with an online therapist, I have a link in the description to do that. If you are interested in private narcissistic abuse recovery coaching with me, please visit my website or send me an email. Both are linked in the description below. Before we jump into the stages of healing for hidden abuse, I would like to read you a quote from the author's book because this is a critical component for victims to understand before healing can take place, in my humble opinion. The author states, psychological abusers damage others not out of impaired judgment, but because they enjoy the control that they gain from abusing people. Psychological abusers play games with their targets and know precisely what they're doing. Some will even admit they enjoy being the puppet master and keeping people off balance for their own entertainment. Others don't outwardly disclose it, but their enjoyment comes bleeding through with a casual smirk or hateful chuckle, end quote. So this is telling you that if you have been a victim of psychological abuse, your abuser is very much aware of exactly what they're doing. Psychological abuse is intentional. So hopefully we can end the confusion for those of you who are struggling to know if the narcissist in your life knows what they are doing, because they know, okay? They know because it's intentional. So now let's get into the specific 6 stages to recovery from psychological abuse, as Shannon Thomas explains in her book, Healing from Hidden Abuse. Number 1, the first stage is despair. Those of you who are here on my channel looking to understand or acknowledgement for what you have been living through likely are at this stage. This stage is when you have reached a point of, I can't do this anymore. Possibly you aren't even sure of exactly what you have been living through, but you have reached a breaking point and you realize that you cannot live this way any longer. The second stage of healing is education. You have finally come to the conclusion that something is very, very wrong here and you're not the problem, they are. So you go digging for answers and you learn that there is a name for what you have experienced. Usually you start Googling the behavior you've been subjected to, and you come across the words narcissistic personality disorder. And the light bulb goes off, the alarm bells go off, and you see it in black and white, and many times you're shocked or in disbelief. But this sets off an obsessive seeking out as much information as you can to find on narcissistic abuse tactics and what you've been subjected to. The third stage is the awakening. This is when the mental shift happens and you start to feel clarity. You have educated yourself pretty well at this point and you see clearly what's going on. I will say the awakening stage is a process. It does not happen all at once. In Shannon Thomas's book, Healing from Hidden Abuse, she states that this is not a linear journey, and that most times a victim will go back and forth between despair and awakening. And I find that accurate to my healing journey and my clients who are going through this. You are going to be dealing with enormous amounts of cognitive dissonance, meaning trying to discern if the narcissist is actually a narcissist. Is this person the wonderful, loving person I fell in love with, or the abusive monster that I have been, seen so many times? Coming out of this is not a straight shot, you guys. Healing is full of bumps and twists and turns, kind of a 2 steps forward, 1 step back. I wish it were a once and done type of process, but it's just not. The reality is you have been severely psychologically abused, many of us for years and years. So it took a long time to get us to this point. Healing is not going to happen overnight. Staying committed to the process is absolutely critical, though, because healing will eventually happen if you dedicate yourself to the process and have patience. The fourth stage is you establish boundaries with this person, which means you make the decision to break away and implement no contact or low detached contact if you have children. You realize that these cycles will never end, and that any meaningful contact with this person is only going to result in further abuse, harm, and exploitation. You realize finally that there is no hope. Things are not ever going to change or get better with this person, no matter what they tell you. And you make the decision to go no contact or low detached contact. The fifth step is restoration. This is a stage where you fix and replace what was broken, stolen, or destroyed, and you decide to live again. That includes tangible things as well as emotional, psychological, and spiritual things that the narcissist has sucked out of you and stomped on. This is a stage where you have worked through the majority of the shock, grief, anger, and feelings of wanting revenge. This is when you put the trauma behind you and you begin to choose your life and your happiness. This is a stage where you start to rebuild your life, where you stop focusing on the narcissist and the pain and the trauma that they put you through, and your biggest priority becomes building a happy, wonderful, successful life. The sixth stage is maintenance, and during this stage you will continue your healing, but most importantly, you put this experience and everything that you have gone through to good use. The wisdom and the education you have earned is not something you will ever take for granted, and you are incredibly selective about whom you allow in your life. You cherish your peace, your independence, and the happiness that you have fought so hard to achieve. It's been a long road getting to this point, and you have no intentions of ever interacting with someone like this ever again. Your boundaries are strong. You can spot the narcissists out there long before they spot you. You put all that you have experienced to good use in the form of wisdom. The naive person you once were is long gone. You're protective of your new life, and you are very selective about who you choose to allow into this new and improved life you've created. You realize what is at stake if you have a lapse in judgment or a break in your boundaries. And those things are just simply not an option for your life ever again. Lesson learned, so to speak. Okay, that's going to do it for today's video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe to my channel. Also, follow me on Facebook and Instagram. The links are in the description below. Thanks for watching, everyone.